In episode 9, the girls are dealing with the fallout from Laura Lee's plane exploding. On top of that, they're hungry, they have no food, they're miserable, and they've all kind of accepted the fact that they're probably going to die in a few weeks. Because everybody's so miserable, Mari brings in a jar of boysenberries that she was trying to save, but she thinks they might have turned into booze, and everybody could use a drink. Even Ben at this point doesn't really care about underage drinking. Jackie says to everybody, if we have booze, let's have a party. We have dresses, we have everything we need, and after all, it's almost homecoming. So they decide to call this party the Doomscoming, with the idea that they're going to drink rotten berries and celebrate their impending death. Everybody seems on board except Van. So the next day, all the girls start preparing decorations, with Misty making a corsage for Ben. She excitedly asks him if he'll go with her to the dance, and he rolls his eyes, clearly not wanting to go. And Misty starts turning on the waterworks, saying that she's never been asked to a dance, and she figured this would be her one chance to go with somebody. Ben feels so guilty, he says, Misty, I'd be happy to go with you to the dance. And as Misty was guilt-tripping Ben into going with her to the dance, Shauna and Jackie were collecting some items they can use as decorations. But the fact that Jackie knows about Shauna and Jeff and hasn't brought it up has been eating at her a little bit. Jackie starts asking Shauna if she ever thinks about all the things that she didn't do. And Shauna tells her, no, not really. And that's when Jackie brings up the one big thing that she didn't get to do, have sex, because she was waiting for Jeff. Well, she's not waiting anymore. She's decided that she's not going to die a virgin, and she's going to have sex with Travis. Right away, Shauna says, but what about Nat? And Jackie says they broke up weeks ago. He's fair game. So even though Shauna thinks it's a bad idea, Jackie has her mind set on it. Jackie heads back into the cabin and she starts getting ready for the party. One of the things that she's going to do is help Misty with her makeup, and Misty's in desperate need of help with that. But Misty confides in her about her problems with Ben. She feels like Ben is holding back because of society and rules, and she needs Jackie's help with having Ben let go. Jackie tells her that her mother always said when a girl sets her mind to things, there's nothing she can't get from a man. Which, as a man, I will tell you is pretty good advice. The advice that Misty's mom always gave her, though, was that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So she tries that first. She goes out where she's stored a bunch of magic mushrooms. She's planning on once again drugging Ben. Misty walks back into the cabin, and Mari asks her, can you go help Shauna with her dress? Because Shauna's probably 5 months pregnant at this point, and those dresses aren't fitting like they used to. Misty says, sure, and puts down the mushrooms, but when she comes back downstairs, the mushrooms are gone. Mari found them and threw them in the stew that she was making for the party. Misty, never once correcting her and pointing out that they're magic mushrooms. She probably figured that Ben's going to eat them anyway, so mission accomplished. But Misty and Ben aren't the only couple that'll be attending this party. Ty is still planning on going with Van, but Van is self-conscious. Ty knows that, so she makes them matching masks. The gesture really means a lot to Van, and not only are they going to go, but they're going to end up being Doomscoming king and queen. Or queen and queen. Everybody then gets settled into the party. They start eating that mushroom stew. Misty starts looking around, amazed at everybody, realizing that in a few hours, things are about to get pretty crazy. But she's just happy that Ben is eating it as well. But any drug dealer will tell you not to test your own product, and Misty doesn't follow that advice, because she ends up eating the soup too. In fact, the only person that doesn't have any is Jackie. She ain't in the soup. She wants that meat, that man meat. And as all the girls belt out an absolute banger, Seal's kissed by a rose, Jackie goes and gets her meat. She lures Travis away from Nat, and at first they slow dance, but then they sneak off. They make their way to the cabin, upstairs to the attic, and Jackie makes the first move on Travis, but he pulls away and says, wait, what about Nat? Jackie says, what about her? And Travis reveals that he thinks he's in love with her. Jackie starts telling Travis how love doesn't matter. She used to think it, but after she found out that Shauna was having sex with Jeff, she realized that friendship and love don't even matter. So after this impassioned speech, Travis buys into this logic, and he takes Jackie's virginity with the sudden ability to get it up. Outside, things are starting to get weird. The first people to realize it are Natalie and Ben. They snuck off because Natalie actually had some legitimate alcohol, and that's exactly what Ben needed. They start talking about Natalie's relationship with Travis, and that's when Ben starts feeling it. He tells Natalie, I think Misty drugged me again. But Natalie, who's done mushrooms in the past, says, I think she drugged all of us. And they start absolutely tripping balls. And sure enough, back at the camp, it's hitting everybody at the same time. At one point, Lottie goes over to this hollowed out tree, bends down and says, "We won't be hungry much longer." The person who drugged him has only one thing on their mind. Misty wants to get to Ben. She finds Ben along with Natalie talking about both of their relationships and how they might die in the woods and they might never get a chance to tell the people who they love what they really feel about them. But while Ben doesn't have that opportunity, Natalie does. And Ben tells Natalie, "You have to go and find Travis. Tell him how you feel." Natalie takes off and Misty replaces her. Misty was listening to that entire conversation and she felt like it was really meant for her. So she jumps on Ben and says, "You were so right." She starts trying to kiss him. And finally he says, "Misty, I'm gay. I don't love you. I love Paul." Finding out that the guy that you were in love with that also told you that he felt the same way is gay is a tough pill for Misty to swallow. While Ben is coming out to Misty, Natalie was on her way back to find Travis, and that was a whole scene. Because most of the girls were outside tripping when one of them brought up how Jackie went off with Travis to go have sex for the first time. That's when Lottie brought up that they have to stop it because Travis doesn't belong to Jackie. The group links up with Van and Ty, who were having sex in the woods, until finally they make their way to the cabin, where Travis and Jackie were just enjoying some pillow time. The mushrooms haven't quite hit Travis yet. They definitely haven't hit Jackie. She hasn't had any. So they're a little thrown off when the entire group barges in and starts demanding to know what they were doing in the attic. Ty asks Jackie, "Why would you do this to Natalie?" And Travis tries to deny it, but there's blood on Jackie's dress. It's obvious they had sex. Lottie starts to grab at Jackie, and unfortunately for Jackie, that is when the mushrooms start to hit Travis. Jackie's begging Travis to do something, but all he's doing is saying, "None of us are here right now." Jackie can't figure out what is wrong with all of them. As far as she's concerned, they're all acting weird. And it gets really weird when Lottie kisses Travis. Jackie looks at Shauna and says, "Really? You're just going to stand there?" So Shauna doesn't stand there. She does something. She grabs Travis and starts kissing him as well. Jackie tries to stop her, but Van, Ty, and Lottie get in her way. Lottie tells her, "You took something that doesn't belong to you." Jackie shoots back that the spirits don't care that Natalie called dibs on Travis, but Lottie tells her this has nothing to do with her. "Don't you understand? You don't matter anymore." And then she pushes Jackie in the closet and locks her in there. They then put Travis into a chair, and it's every guy's dream. It's orgy time. It's going great. Travis is having a blast. I mean, he just lost his virginity like 15 minutes ago. Now he's checking the orgy off the box. He's having quite a day. Unfortunately, though, he starts to go through a bad trip. The girls who are all up on him are turning into demonic monsters. It freaks him out so bad that he pushes all of them off of him and runs out of the cabin. But when he does that, all of the girls see a stag run out of the cabin, and they chase after him. They end up eventually getting him, tying him to that hollowed-out tree, sticking a pine cone in his mouth, and then Lottie hands the knife off to Shauna to do what she does best, cut throats. She gets really close to doing that. But Travis's head starts going from that deer to Travis, which gives her pause. And that's when Travis is saved by Natalie and Jackie. Natalie went back to the cabin and found Jackie trapped in the closet, let her out, and that's when they found this disturbing scene where they're able to stop it. Natalie tries to check on Travis, but Travis says, "I'm fine," and runs off into the woods. He's clearly not fine, by the way. He is definitely frazzled by this whole situation. Lottie grabs Nat's arm and says, "It's in all of us, you know. Even him and even you." And Nat just throws her down on the ground. She has had enough. She starts screaming at Lottie, "I've had enough of your crazy crap. Haven't you done enough?" But Lottie just starts doing this maniacal laugh. Natalie then runs back into the woods to try to find Travis. Present day, we'll start off with Shauna, who barges into Adam's apartment demanding answers, but he doesn't really have any. He's totally taken off guard. She starts looking all over the place for the money, her journals, all the while demanding that he tell her who he is. She keeps creeping and creeping until she doesn't find her journals or the money, but what she does find are old magazine covers about the plane crash. And it hits Shauna that he's an Uber fan. She is so incredibly hurt, and she even thinks she figured out how Adam knew the passcode to the safe, because the passcode was her flight number. Adam starts trying to explain his side of the story, but Shauna grabs a knife to keep him away. When Adam walks towards her, she stabs him, killing him on the spot. She goes back home to put the knife in the safe, but when she opens it up, her journals are back. Jeff just walked in the room, and she asks him, "Do you have any idea where this glitter came from?" Jeff is a super bad liar. He also doesn't really know what to say. He's been caught. And Shauna is disgusted that Jeff would blackmail her friends. But now it makes sense to her why she didn't get a postcard. He starts telling her, you were never supposed to get involved in this. Whole thing got out of control. There's a furniture website that's running me out of business. I needed the money, and I thought with Taissa and her campaign, she would have it. Maybe even Natalie had some cash, but I was going to lose the store. It's even worse than that, though. He goes on to explain that he borrowed money from loan sharks, and he had to pay them back. That's why he needed the money. Right now, they're all good. But Shauna says, no, Jeff, we're not all good. She tells Jeff that she killed a guy. And that's even more tough to comprehend for Jeff than Shauna finding out that Jeff was the blackmailer. When he comes back to his senses, he starts asking her, who was this guy? And she has to come clean that it was the guy she got into a car accident with. He finds it weird that she kept in touch with him. And she says, come on, man. I ran into him again when I was following you to the hotel. I mean, we both know that you were having an affair too. I saw you at the hotel with Bianca. But Jeff shakes his head and says, no, I wasn't having an affair with Bianca. She's part of the loan shark crew. I was there to give her payment. Then he realizes just what Shauna said. You were having an affair too, which means that she had an affair with Adam. He's really having a tough time taking this all in. But the hardest thing for him to comprehend is the fact that there was no book club. That just floors him. A little while later, after they both blew off some steam, Jeff comes downstairs and hands her a card of the guy he has who handles the finances for the store, because Jeff has decided he's going to take the fall. He's watched enough Dateline episodes to know how this ends for him, so he might as well get it over with. Save Shauna and save Callie. He's going to go to the police and own it. Say that he caught his wife and her lover and decided to go track him down and kill him. But Shauna thanks him for the gesture, but says, no, you can't. If word gets out that the Yellowjackets were being blackmailed for the stuff that we did out there, our lives, Callie's life, would be over. They start trying to think about what they're going to do, and Jeff points out that Shauna believed that Adam was blackmailing her. So why can't Natalie and Taissa believe it too? Jeff goes upstairs, grabs a duffel bag, grabs the burner phone, and brings it downstairs so Shauna can take it back to Adams and recreate the scene. He does bring up the fact that he did read her journals years ago. He knows about everything that happened out there. He tells her, you could have talked to me about this, but she points out it's not exactly an easy topic to talk about. Even after all the crap that they've been to and they revealed that day, Jeff vows to stand by Shauna because in the end, he does love her. She then texts both Taissa and Natalie to meet her over at Adams. And Taissa's had quite a day. She's not in a good mood. It's voting day and she's convinced she's going to lose. And now she's realizing just how much this campaign has taken from her and the family. But she gets a text from Shauna along with Natalie. When they show up, the story that Shauna rolls with is Adam was her lover who weaseled his way into her life, stole her journals, and used the information in the journals to blackmail them. After wondering where the money is and realizing that's not there, the next thing they have to figure out is what to do about the dead body. Natalie has one idea. It's to go and grab Misty. And Misty has gotten pretty close with Jessica Roberts. They've actually formed a bit of a friendship. Jessica trying to convince Misty that she should sell her story to a book deal or a movie or something. She starts planting the seed that the girls never really reached out to Misty to see how she was doing about it. Yeah, they all stayed in touch, but they never stayed in touch with Misty. By the time that Natalie shows up at Misty's house, she's starting to believe what Jessica was saying. But she also can't say no to Natalie. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. Once again, thank you for checking out this recap.